Hey, so it's been a month and some change, almost two. I was hoping that I could release a video sooner, but life changes, things changes. I got a new job. I can now save up to replace my headphones that broke and my drawing tablet. This is a hopefully a short video. My first take was 42 minutes, so hopefully I can make it shorter. Something I experienced in the Philippines. I experienced a few things, little ditty, I guess. So the story that I wanted to go with turned out to be very, very long. I wrote 14 pages, front and back. A lot of it is useless exposition. I don't need that. So this happened afterwards. In short, I will just say the main story. It sort of branches off, but in the big event that sort of changed my view on life and my experiences throughout life. When I lived in the Philippines almost half a year, I lived in my late grandfather's house. My auntie was taking care of it, and two of my cousins and my brother were also living there as well. I always had a strange feeling coming from the old part of the upstairs. Every time I would round the L-shaped staircase going upwards to brush my teeth or put something away next to my bed, I'd always feel like something's watching me. Something that wasn't malicious, but was just making sure that something didn't happen. Or I would say something that's watching the house. That feeling of being watched was apparently my grandfather. And, I told my cousin, which I'll call Car Guy. He was very interested in ghosts. This is the moment when I realized that Filipinos are very superstitious. It turned out my other cousin, he is I don't know what it would be called in Tagalog. That's the Filipino language. I guess he's a healer, but he's like a reversed child. He was born feet first, so he's spiritually inclined, I guess. I'm not sure how it works because I tried to ask my mother. Well, she does not like spirits, things like that. Personally, I never knew that my mom even cared about that stuff. But from what I could gather, both mother and aunt don't like supernatural stuff because on my grandmother's side, that's where I think they described it as like the part of the family with the third eye. They were medicine men, I don't know, healers. Like they would make an oil with a certain flower in a glass bottle. It's like holy water, I guess. It's old tradition that was converted to Catholicism, like Roman Catholicism. Don't ask me how it works. I could barely gather this information. My mother and aunt, who speak better English than Car Guy and Healer, who speaks none at all, that's all I could gather. I tried to look this up on Google. Nothing. I'm guessing it's a local thing. My family isn't, they're native to the Philippines, but they're not native to Manila. Their province is like in eastern Samar, right? So any Filipinos who listen to this, I don't know. And I'm sure you probably know better, random person. But anyways, the main story is Healer, my cousin, said that I might be like him, or I might have a third eye. There are two categories. You can feel spirits and ghosts and all that stuff. And the other is you can see them. And he said he wanted to sort of test that. And my other cousin, Car Guy, obviously translated. We go to the kitchen table, do this weird seance. All this stuff happened. Healer said that I'm probably like him. And we also did this other stuff where I guess with healers, you heal through touch and through this oil substance. You just massage it into the skin, heal that person, I guess. So we did this other thing where my aunt's hand, I don't know if she had like arthritis or something, but she couldn't bend her fingers and she could barely close her fingers. I massaged that oil that he had into her hands only once. And for the rest of the time there, she said that she could bend her fingers. And even after the massage, she even showed me like she could bend her fingers, move her hand and all that stuff. Yeah, I don't know. Take that with a grain of salt because it could literally just be cramped muscles or something like that. But if not, that's pretty cool, right? I mean, I don't know. It's like I could massage someone and heal them. But yeah, I don't know. That's the main story and a little bit extra. So after that happened, maybe a week or more later, things happen that I would usually ignore or flat out think is completely normal. But after having my eyes open about being able to see and feel people that are not there, which are a long-winded term for ghosts and spirits. One night, everybody's downstairs watching, I don't know, I don't speak Tagalog, so don't ask me what show it was. It's like this CSI Miami thing that is completely Filipino. It's like this old grizzled cop veteran. He's like a detective or something, and he goes around solving crimes and stuff. That's the best I could understand. I go upstairs in the newer part, not the older part, which I'll explain in a different story because the house is weirdly built. There were 4 extensions or expansions on the house. I was in the newer part, okay? Go upstairs to put some of the stuff that I bought at the mall away and to brush my teeth, get ready to bed. I go upstairs and I feel strange. It wasn't coming from the window where I felt my grandfather. It felt completely different. I felt like a cold, I wouldn't say chill, but like a cold sweat. It felt my body sort of flushed out. My blood somewhat turned cold, and I was thinking maybe I need to drink water or something. So drink water, start brushing my teeth. This is when it got a bit strange. I felt someone behind me. I was very confused. I turn around and no one's there. I peek my head downstairs. Everybody's watching TV. They're chit-chatting away about the show in Tagalog. I'm confused, but whatever. I go upstairs, try to finish brushing my teeth. I feel this person again. It's a woman. Very long, black hair. I wouldn't say it's covering her face. I could almost picture her behind me. Sort of when you feel someone staring at you and they're behind you, you kind of feel the upper part of your back kind of tingle, like someone's watching you. I could picture everything but her face. Kind of blurred, shorter than me, probably around like 5'6", 5'5" maybe. And I turn around quickly. No one's there. But now that I face the stairs where she once was, she's now behind me again. But that, I'll have to say, is very impossible because what's in front of me is a thick cement wall and a sink. There's no place for a human to be. It felt like that tabletop and sink weren't there. It was just her behind me. I turn around and I'm like, oh shit, you know. I quickly finish brushing my teeth, and when I'm finishing brushing my teeth, do the whole process. In my head, I could hear something. I don't know what it was, but I could also see someone in the alleyway beside her house, walking towards the front, like round the corner to the front door, and she's looking for something. I don't know what it is, but when I finish brushing my teeth, I try to look out the window. So there are the stairs. That's an L shape, very squished in stairs. When I'm looking out the window, the stairs are behind me, and to the right of me is a wall, and on that wall, there's no windows, so, you know, I can't look. I have to look straight ahead and kind of push my face against the rebarbed windows because everything's made of cement, and kind of try to look around a corner, which is impossible, obviously, into that alleyway. And I couldn't see into the alleyway, never been in that section of the alleyway, but I could perfectly picture like me standing in that alleyway looking at her feet, like a weird thing. I don't normally look at feet, I promise you. Please. I promise you, I don't look at feet. But I can see her walking barefoot, her white nightgown dragging her along her, and you can only see her feet peeking when she picks up her foot, you know, to step forward. And I'm thinking, man, this is weird. I then hear her humming. It wasn't coming from the alleyway, it was coming behind me, but I didn't feel her behind me. When I focused on that humming, I thought it was coming from the TV, and it wasn't. when I listened to the TV, it didn't make sense that there were any humming. There was like car explosion, gunshots, people talking or whatever. It's like, okay, that's not from the thing. But it sounds like she's humming into my ear. And when I focused on that, it wasn't coming from anywhere. It was coming from inside my head. But I'll explain it like this. When you focus on something, usually you can pinpoint if it's on the left side, the right side, in front or behind. You can kind of feel it going into your ear canal and your eardrum sort of vibrates and rings. But like this, when I focused on it, it was almost there. It was right behind my ear, inside my head, which I've experienced before, and I always found strange. So I knew this wasn't coming externally, it was internally. And I've already heard this humming, I think, twice. And when I heard it again, I saw pictures of her. I don't know if she was looking into a window or she was inside the house. She was looking at a cradle. There was no baby in the cradle from what I could see. She was humming to the child in the cradle that wasn't there. And I'm guessing she was looking for that child. So when I heard the humming for the third time, it would flash like imagery of this cradle, her far away and then up close, and then her looking down into the cradle to where I definitely saw there was no child. And I felt that she was panicked and freaked out that there was no child. She was looking around. While I was hearing the humming 3 times, seeing the imagery of her looking at the cradle and all this stuff for 3 times, yes, this is a definite thing. I could progressively visually see her in, I guess I would say, mind's eye, because I couldn't physically see into that alleyway. Her slowly walking up to the edge of the house to where she could round the house, go to the front where the door is and all that stuff. Her humming and the pictures of her looking for her child, which I assumed, I thought she was a good spirit. I felt very calm, very relaxed. I felt that she just wanted help looking for her child. And as this was going on, and at this point it was just me waiting for her to round the corner. She was getting ever so close to that. And I was thinking, when she rounds the corner, I'm going to fully see her on the street. I'm just waiting patiently, very calm, relaxed, but also anxious, building up. And in the back of my head, I have this cardinal rule about things that I don't understand and things that I know people can't see. Even this was before I realized, or that I was told, that I had a third eye type stuff, right? There are a few rules. I'll just explain the one that was going in my head. Do not let this thing, whatever it is, if it's fake, then you don't have to worry about it. But if it's real somehow, do not let it know, like you can see and feel it, and do not acknowledge it. If you ignore it, it will go away. If you acknowledge it, it has something to grasp onto it. You know, it has something to follow, something to stay with you. So at this point, I sort of failed, and I'm physically and mentally waiting for this woman to round the corner and to see her looking into the windows to try to find her child. At this point, I stopped thinking that it was a malicious ghost. Then I stopped thinking it was a good ghost. I just started thinking it was a person. I don't know why, but that's just how it is. When I got to that point, physically and mentally waiting to see this person on the street, she slowed down right before something happened. I was like, what? Like, did she stop to see something? Like, what happened? And the neighbor across the street came out to do something. I don't know. He was looking around to make sure he wasn't making any noise or something. And then he like took in the buckets of rainwater that he collected, and she just disappeared. So I'm like, oh shit, I completely forgot that she wasn't real. So I get that feeling again, sort of like being drained. But now it just feels like I'm dead tired. I want to go to bed. I go downstairs. I see everybody watching the TV. I ask car guy, I said, hey, can I talk to you for a little bit? I just feel strange. And he was like, why? What happened? Like, I don't know. I'll tell you upstairs. He's like, okay, whatever. A little bit concerned, but you know. And I look over to Healer, and he has a very strange look on him. He has like, I don't know. I wouldn't say a shit-eating grin, more of like a sly smile, a little smirk. And he asked, what happened? And I just told him, I'm not really sure. Obviously, car guy translated that to me, but I could even, it was short enough and sort of explained enough that I could get that without the translation. Me and car guy go upstairs and I tell him the story. His face gets pale, like a cold sweat. And he said, "Did you do anything? Like, did you hum that lullaby or song?" And, I said no. Like, I don't know, but I just it felt really good. Like I felt calm, relaxed. It was just a woman that I'm guessing was a spirit looking for a child. And car guy said, "Okay, well, that's very weird. And to be very careful about that stuff." I felt a little strange myself, but I thought nothing of it. He can only feel things. He can't see things, I guess. But he told me some spirit will trick you. They will make you feel good. They'll make you feel calm, relaxed, what have you, so you can let your guard down and they'll, work their way in. They'll trick you somehow. They'll, do that sort of stuff. At the moment, I was like, no, that's not it. She was just looking for a child. She was humming a tune and all that stuff. Up to that moment, I didn't feel fear or anything like that. I just felt good. But it just felt strange, He goes downstairs after we talk it out a little bit. I just said, "Don't worry about it." So, okay, just don't do anything, whatever. Just pray, Obviously, I did not listen to him because everybody was either getting ready for bed or continuing watching the TV. I go into the kitchen, eating a snack. And after all that happened, I know she was gone. She was very distant, far away. I was alone again, downstairs in the kitchen. I'm like, man, for some reason, I can't get that lullaby out of my head. It just keeps repeating over and over again. I can hear her singing it, but now that she's gone, it's just me singing it, or I guess humming it. I'm like, man, I can't get it out of my head. And I had this strong urge to hum it out loud. And as you know, not a bright idea, but I did it anyways. I hummed it once. I listened to it. I was like, it's still not out of my head. I do it again. And I listened to it. It's still not out of my head, So I do it one more time and I listen to it. And when I'm listening to it, an image pops in my head of her far away in the distance, walking down some dirt alleyway. She stops and it flips around from behind her to in front of her. And instead of this, feeling of calm niceness, the picture that I had of her was long black hair, nice white gown with a little bit of mud on the bottom that dragged on the dirt ground, and her bare feet. She was not that image at all. Her white gown was an off-white, sort of yellowish tan, dirty, murky color now. It lost that bright white nightgown. Her hair was not straight. It was not combed. It was not silky, smooth, whatever. It was ratted, matted, and sort of tangled clumps of dirt and all this stuff. And just her face, her skin was, I wouldn't say bloated, but it was rotted. It wasn't someone's skin that was alive. Someone who was very sick. Someone who was dying or dead. It had a lot, I wouldn't say pockmark, but a lot of blemishes and all that stuff. It flipped around. Her black hair was covering her eyes, a little bit of forehead, sort of it wasn't intentional, with wind and all that stuff. I don't know. It just focused on her lower face. Just this gross, crooked, too big of a smile on her face. Just wide grin. She fucking got me, bro. I was like, oh shit. Car guy was right. That spirit, whatever, was trying to lull me into a false sense of security and safety. And I was like, oh shit. That's when I felt fear, anxiety, paranoia. I was, when you feel that intense dread, your body stiffens, it turns like a cold yet warm, your muscles tighten, and you feel from the top of your head sort of like TV static pops and crackles, like a shiver going from the top of your head and shoulders all the way down, your blood just drains and turns cold. That like sort of tired, no energy got replaced by like fight or flight. And I'm like, oh shit. And then I started thinking, man, I don't know. I saw her in front of me and behind me and in front of me again 3 times. I heard her singing the lullaby 3 times. I saw the cradle like 3 times. It was not a very good sign. And if you don't know, usually when you have things that happen in sets of 3s and it's a spiritual thing, that's usually making fun of the Trinity, that sort of stuff. So I was like, man, that's a lot of red flags that I did not see until I genuinely fucked up. I tried to go to sleep. I had to play music because she just wouldn't leave me alone. When I'd close my eyes, I could see her face. I could physically see her face, but I couldn't because my eyes were closed. I could hear her walking around the house. I could feel her looking through the wall at me. And I'm like, oh shit. You know, like, and again, for like 3 days, for like half a week, I'd say half a week, because 3 days it calmed down, but I still was iffy until like half a week. So I'll just do it that way. So not many fucking 3s in this story. I just did not sleep. I did not feel good. All I did was when I slept, I tried to pray her away, and that's all I could try to do. I didn't want to tell no one. I should have honestly told Healer, because I'm sure he probably had some magical thing he could do or whatever. He doesn't speak English, and even if I did try to tell him, I don't know how that would have gone, and I don't know if Car Guy would be able to translate what I was saying and feeling to him, because even now I'm still unsure of what happened, you know what I mean? So yeah, that's about the end of the story. All right, good day, good night, and remember, don't go fuck yourself.